And welcome to Indian time. This month is the month of January, or better known as Stinchtus Pakanis or Stapskes Pakanis. Stinchtus Pakanis is the first name that was given because this time of the year, New Year, people would get together for their ceremonies and they would sing a song and they would go around and shake each other's hand. And later on, when trappers and other people arrived here, they would go out with their rifles and shoot in the air, and that's where the second name, Stapske, come from. The place names we have for this show is Sinptatquis Steye, which means water sprayed by the skunk, which is what we call Black Lake up there by Elmo. And the other one is Ihlich. Ihlich is what we call Dayton or Dayton Creek area. Ihlich is referring to something that is netted or something like a web or woven. In those days, there was a lot of net fishing. Again, going back to Sinptatquis Chasteya is part of one of the creation stories where the skunk was chasing after. I won't tell you the whole story, but the basic of the story is. Base of the story was a skunk was chasing a person that stole is trying to get some women. He stole somebody's woman, then the guy stole it back, and then he was chasing them. And then when this guy had these women up on the ledge, up on Chief Cliff, way up high, and the skunk was shooting thought he was shooting at them, but what he was shooting was an image in the water, and that's how he killed the water, and that's how the elders have said that. That's why the water looks and smells as it is today. Ihlich, on the other hand, is a place in the Dayton Creek area where people have gone, and a lot of fish at that time. They used to catch largemouth suckers in that area, and also some both large and smallmouth suckers. But a while back, at one of the interviews in the tapes at Ushni, Kenmel remembered that around in the 1931 or 32, Matt Finley and Peter Paul used a net made of rawhide. She guessed they caught probably anywhere from between 300 and 400 fish. So there was a lot of net fishing in those days. So that's the place names that for this show. That's Sinptatquis Chasteya and Ihlich. The month of January, as you know, is from the New Year jump dance on to throughout the month of January. After the jump dances, they go into the medicine dances and different things that are needed to be done at this time for healing and at the medicine dances. And we still have several people that continue to hold these medicine dances, and are more and more people have been getting involved over the years again, and it's a very important part of our culture, of our way of life. That's a way of of healing people, a way of preparing again for the following year. So that's what's taking place the most of this month. So a lot of people, a lot of our employees are joining and participating in this activity, which is, it's nice to see after several years that where the participation kind of died down. I'd like to remind the people that our last, the second Wednesday of this month, we had our cultural workshop. In our cultural workshop, we try to we try to inform people, I guess, of the cultural values and the language and stories of our people. And the workshop is set up primarily for the tribal employees and other interested people who have not had the opportunity to learn about their language, about their culture. So on the second Wednesday of each month from October through June, when possible, we have these workshops from 9:30 to 3:30, and the elders are invited to come in and share their information with the participants. So the next one is in February, the second Wednesday in February. So I encourage you and I urge you to participate, to come in and learn and listen to the elders who have a lot to share. And as time goes on, we will lose all of our elders and our information. So we need to learn these stories. We need to learn these ways in order for us as Indian people to survive. Also, as you all know, this is the 57th legislation that's going on in Helena, and there's a lot of activities there that pertain to tribes in Montana who at this time are participating in this legislation to give testimony, to keep track of some of the bills that are going through that will affect tribes in Montana. One of those that I was able to participate in is House Bill 165, and that bill is an act establishing the Montana Repatriation Act, and it's since July 1st, 1991. The Human Remains and Burial Protection Act of Montana provided some protection that from that time on, but it doesn't provide any protection from that time, from 1991 back. And so we're hoping to change this bill will take care of that. What we're trying to do, I guess, and that human remains, that as the development continues in this country and as people move, human remains and burial sites are being discovered, are being dug up, and it's a process, a way of protecting, to make sure that those artifacts, those burial objects that were with the person, are given back to their rightful tribe or people or individuals who can prove that this was their ancestor or this was their family or whatever, so that they can be brought back and be repatriated back and reburied here or wherever the proper way so we can take care of our human remains. It's very difficult for non-members or the white people to understand the value and the importance of the way we treat our deceased. They're not to be studied. They're not to be owned by anybody. But it's a human rights issue. It's a right for that person that was buried way back then, has that right to remain buried and as it was intended to be. So the House Bill 165 is one of those that hopefully will help protect some of that. and it was moved out of committee, Judiciary Committee. It was moved out of executive yesterday, and now it goes up to the floor for discussion. And hopefully that we will get enough support that it will continue past and it will become law. Again, a lot of things that are happening throughout the reservation and in this legislation that's going to affect us. And so our tribal leaders are staying in close contact and looking at the bills that come through. We have some people, the Indian Affairs Office in Helena are monitoring. We have a lobbyist there who monitors the bills. So we're in pretty close contact as far as issues that come up. Tribal leaders are notified in the state as soon as anything comes up. Again, the place names is Ilich and Ptatkistis Hasteye. This show, I would like to talk maybe, since not only the medicine dance or the jump dance medicine that go on there, but during the winter months is a time for storytelling, a time that our elders would sit and talk to our young people. And this was a way of educating our young people about the values of Salish people, the do's and don'ts of life. And these were taught through what we call coyote stories or creation stories, that when the animal people were sent here to prepare our land safe for humans, this was a process that took place. These are the stories that our elders have shared that took place in these areas, and to form our values of our people today. So what I'm going to do today is, over the years, the Culture Committee has put together, excuse me, a few of the stories that the elders have told us, and as we all know, the stories and the stories of the elders loses a lot in translation from Salish to English, because the languages are so different that we have to do our best when we convert it from Salish to English to try to keep as much of the story as possible. But there's a lot that is lost in translation because the languages are so different. In the Salish language, you say something, it means a lot different, or says a lot more than it would in the English. So with that, I'm going to read one of the stories to you, and it's called, this one is called, it might be interesting. It was told by Pete Beaverhead, and it was back in 1975, and it was illustrated by Tony Sandoval, and who is married to one of the tribal members, Joanne Big Crane. The story is called Coyote Gets Lovesick, and so this ought to be an interesting story to some of the younger ones, or the young teens. The story goes something like this. It says, Coyote and Camp Robber, that's who the main characters are in this story. Coyote and Camp Robber lived in the same teepee. Camp Robber was Coyote's roommate and friend. Early in the morning, Coyote would wake up. His friend would already be gone. It would be dark when he returned, tired and hungry. As soon as Coyote would wake up, he would look at his friend's bed. Already, he would be gone. The next evening, when Camp Robber got back, tired and hungry, Coyote asked him, "Where do you go?" Ah, yes, that's right. I haven't told you. When you go out, go straight from here. Not far. Go until you get to the end of the trees and go to the top of the hill. It's not too far. High up at the bottom of the hill, there is a big clearing. A lot of people are camped there. That's where I go. There's one woman among them. She is the most beautiful woman in all this land. No one is as beautiful as she is. I go there to yearn for her. Every day the young men crowded around from afar to flirt with her. They are all dressed in their finest. They are all crowded around her. Me, I always watch from the top of the hill. Each morning, just as the sun shows, you can see her go out of the teepee. The young men were all around, flirting. Me, I flirt from the hilltop far away. I don't get near. Later, she goes back into the teepee. Then, just as the sun touches the evening, she comes out again. We see her again. Twice a day, we feast our eyes. Beautiful, beautiful is the child, is a chief's daughter. Okay, now you stay home this time, Coyote told his friend. Early in the morning, Coyote fixed himself up. He bathed and put on his finest. Coyote went out into the woods, then entered a clearing. There, the hill his friend had told him about. Below in the clearing, he saw that there were already a lot of young men around the camp. We went up the hill and found a place where his friend had lain to watch. It was well worn. He sat there. He looked toward where the sun rises. It was bright. Soon the sun would come out. Now I'll see what this woman looks like. Just as the sun shone brightly, she came out. Hi-oh, she really is beautiful. Hi-oh, this is good. She had such good clothes, Coyote thought. The young men were many that crowded around her. She went to the edge of the camp and went into the trees. A little while later, she came out. She went back into the teepee. That was all for now. The young men left. Hi-oh, I am not going back. I'll stay here until the evening when she comes out again so I can see her. After I see her, I'll go back. I have nothing to do. I have no further business. It'll be good to stay here. Coyote lay there. Just as the sun touched the evening, she came out. Hi-oh, beautiful. That's the way it is. She is beautiful, 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 beautiful. Coyote couldn't stop saying how beautiful she was. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. She went back in. Oh, I'll stay overnight here. After I see her in the morning, I'll go home. I'm going to sleep anyway. Morning came. He saw her again. Again, he felt the same way. Hoy, I'll stay until evening. After I see her, I'll go. Morning came. Ayo, Coyote couldn't see very well. It was like there was a fog all over. He watched the people cooking. He rubbed his eyes. He was going to get up, but he couldn't. He had been laying there several days, not drinking or eating. He tried to stand, but he couldn't. He raised his head and tried to bend backwards. Nothing. He tried his eyes, but they weren't very clear. The brightness of the sun was shining over the mountains. Soon the sun came out. As soon as the woman came out, he knew, even though his eyes were cloudy. Oh, that woman is beautiful. She went back into the teepee. Again he tried raising his back. Nothing. He had gone. He had gone his furthest this time. He couldn't move. Oh, my breath is short. I wish whoever wants what it is that way, that I might live to see her again this day. He didn't get to see her again. He died. The camp robber thought, my friend has been gone for many days. I'll go see. He left and got where he used to watch. There was Coyote, all dried up and dead. Then he brought Coyote back to life. Camp robber said, let it be that when man gets lovesick for someone, it won't be a way to die. There is a love sickness today, but man won't die from it. And so that is one of the stories that the value of our way of life is told, that it was formed, that love sickness is one of the sicknesses that we don't die from today, no matter how much love sickness we get. But these kind of stories are the ways that we tell to the values, to tell our young people and how what's right and what's wrong. And a lot of the things that are happening today are coming true from the stories that were told way back for many, many, many generations. The people knew already back then, through the creation stories, what was going to take place and what is taking place and what is now actually taking place. So these stories are not only are they educational and value, but it also tells a way of life, that how it's going to happen and what's going to happen. And in the beginning, when the Creator put the animal people here to prepare this land and to rid all evil for humans to be here, all of these stories took place. All of these land formations were formed as the Coyote and his brothers went through this area, destroying them, and left these landmarks, these formations. When Coyote was sent here, all the fox, his brother, and other animals were also sent here. Some of those other animals, like the camp robber and the fox, who was another main character, were given those special powers to bring the Coyote back to life when things happened, because the Creator knew that the Coyote would be killed many times in his travels throughout this country, preparing this land. And so other animals were giving those special powers to revive him as they came across him, so he could continue his journey, preparing this land for us, getting rid of all the evil things. And the elders say that someday when we are not careful, when we don't prepare and take care of what we do here, that Coyote will come back through here. He'll come back from the east and come back towards the west, and that will end everything. So these kinds of stories kind of, when I was growing up, prepared and showed me the values of life, and what to do and what not to do, how things were formed, how animals were formed, why animals look the way they do. there are many, many stories that we have lost over the years about our animals, about the creation story, why certain things happened around them. And because our stories were never written, they were always given to us orally every winter, during the winter months. The elders would sit and talk and tell stories. And young people would listen as they learned these stories. They would then pass it on to their children. Nothing was ever written. It was always in their minds and in their story. So although it's the Coyote stories or the creation stories may vary a little here and there depending on who tells the story, the fact that the outcome of the story is what's important, is what's the main thing behind it. And we have stories throughout all of our Aboriginal territory where we have been as Salish people. So if you have an opportunity to get an elder to listen, or rather to tell you these stories, listen and learn from them to find out what the values of that story is, why we don't do these things, and that's through these stories that we learn. And I hope to someday share more of these with you with an elder. We can get an elder to come and tell you these stories. We're out of time again, so I'd like to say thank you to all of you who had joined me today. I hope to see you again at our next show. So, the place names again is in Ptsatquis Chsteya and Ilih, Rest Chalchal Besia.